The film begins with a chimp drinks from a lake in a primal world. Lucy narrates that life started billions of years ago and wonders what we have done with it ever since. Now, Lucy stands outside a hotel in Taiwan with Richard, her boyfriend of a week. He wants her to deliver a briefcase to a Mr. Zhang in his room. She refuses to go along with his plan without knowing what's inside the briefcase, so he cuffs her wrist to the handle, forcing her to comply. She walks into the lobby and tells the clerk that Richard sent her to Zhang, and then gives her name with a tremble in her voice. Lucy sees Richard waving and smiling at her from the window until a bullet ends his life. A gang of thugs emerge from the elevator and drag Lucy with them. They take Lucy to Zhang's apartment. The floor is littered with bloody bodies, making Lucy sick. Zhang comes out with his hands stained with blood. He calls a man on the phone to translate for Lucy. She sobs, clueless about what is happening or why she is there. Zhang scribbles numbers on a paper, which is the code to unlock the briefcase. Zhang goes into the next room while his men get ready with guns and shields. Lucy opens the briefcase, which holds 4 bags of blue powder. Zhang brings in a man who is high on drugs to sniff some of the blue powder. The man spasms and then laughs wildly until Zhang shoots him in the head. Lucy is then told to do a job, which she denies to do until she is slapped. Lucy opens her eyes in a dimly lit hotel room. She feels a sharp pain in her stomach and sees a bloody bandage wrapped around it. Before she can react, the door bursts open and Zhang's goons storm in. They toss her some clothes and drag her out of the bed. She is escorted to Zhang's office, where 3 other terrified men are waiting. A swift British man, who calls himself the Limey, greets them with a sinister smile. He tells Lucy and the others that they have been implanted with a new synthetic drug called CPH4, which is worth a fortune on the black market. They are going to be used as human mules to transport the drug across the globe. He warns them not to tamper with the drug bags or they will die. Lucy is then thrown into a dingy cell and chained to the wall. One of the thugs decides to have some fun with her and kicks her repeatedly in the stomach. This causes the product to open into Lucy's body. She feels a surge of pain and panic as her body starts to convulse uncontrollably. She flails her limbs wildly, hitting the walls and the furniture, even lifting off the ground and touching the ceiling. Then she crashes down with a thud, still twitching and gasping for air. We cut to a lecture hall where Professor Samuel Norman is sharing his groundbreaking research on the brain's potential. He tells his students that humans only use 10% of their brain capacity and wonders what would happen if they could unlock more. He shows them images and videos of how the brain adapts to different environments, either by seeking immortality or reproduction. He says that if humans could access 40% of their brain, they could bend reality to their will. A curious student asks him what would happen if humans reached 100%. He shakes his head and says he has no clue. Lucy opens her eyes, and they are shining with a blue light. She feels a new calmness and clarity in her mind. A thug enters the room and sees her lying on the bed. Lucy parts her legs and seduces him with a smile. The thug drops his gun on the table and approaches her. Lucy grabs his belt and throws him over her head, then slides the table to get the gun. She frees herself from the chains and shoots the other thugs who are having dinner. She gets hit in the shoulder, but she pulls out the bullet without flinching. She devours the food on the table and leaves. She spots 2 men outside and convinces one of them to drive her to the hospital. Lucy hears a cacophony of voices in her head as she drives to the hospital. She can understand every language, every accent, every emotion. She arrives at the hospital and sees the signs as clear as day, even though they are in Arabic. She barges into an operating room where a man is lying on the table. She glances at his x-rays and shoots him in the head, shocking the doctors. She tells them he had a terminal brain tumor and they were wasting their time. She orders them to remove the bag from her stomach or she will kill them too. She calls her mother and tells her she loves her. She says she can feel everything, the air on her skin, the blood in her veins, the heat leaving her body. She remembers every moment of her life, even the ones she forgot. She hangs up as the doctor pulls out the bag of drugs from her stomach. She tells him it's CPH4, a substance that pregnant women produce to nourish their babies. The doctor is amazed that she is still alive. Lucy heads back to the hotel, where Zhang is getting a tattoo and a facial. She slaughters his guards and kicks out the tattoo artist. She pins Zhang to the chair with knives in his hands. She touches his forehead and scans his brain. She sees the images of the other 3 drug mules and their destinations. She leaves him screaming in agony. Lucy visits her friend Caroline's apartment and uses her laptop. She downloads all of Norman's research in a blink of an eye, then calls him to discuss it. He is stunned that she read everything, and even more so when she tells him what she is going through. She says she has reached 20% of her brain capacity and she can control electronics. She proves it by appearing on the TV in his hotel room, as well as his phone and the radio. She tells him she wants to meet him in 12 hours. Before she leaves, she prints out a prescription for Caroline, telling her she has liver and kidney problems and she needs to change her habits. She says she will be fine if she follows her advice. Lucy disguises herself with a new hair color and style as she walks through the airport. She knows the police are looking for her after she shot the dying patient. She contacts a French cop, Captain Pierre Del Rio, and tells him where to find the other drug mules. She gets on the plane and dives into her research on the brain, typing furiously on her laptop. The flight attendants ask her to turn it off, but Lucy ignores them. She asks for a glass of champagne and casually tells one flight attendant to check her nose before it starts bleeding. Lucy gets the champagne and raises it to knowledge. She drinks, and then a 40% of flashes on the screen. She feels something hard in her mouth and spits out a tooth. Then 3 more. Then her skin begins to crumble in front of the horrified passengers and crew. Lucy runs to the bathroom, where her fingers vanish and her face starts to melt. She grabs the remaining CPH4 and snorts it, reversing the damage, but she faints. Lucy opens her eyes in a hospital room where Del Rio and some other cops and doctors are waiting. They have captured the other mules, thanks to her tip. She jumps out of the bed, startling a nurse. At the same time, one of Zhang's men, G, storms in with more thugs to get the drugs. They drag the mules into a room and slit their bellies, taking the bags of CPH4. Lucy walks out of the room and faces a group of armed men. She flicks her fingers, and they all fall asleep, except for Del Rio. They follow Zhang's men, and, with her brain power at 60%, she tosses them around the hall and traps G with an invisible barrier. She snatches the drugs from him and heads to the exit, but she tells Del Rio to come with her. He says he can't help her, but she kisses him and asks him to come as a reminder. Lucy takes over Del Rio's car and drives recklessly through the streets, saying she has never driven before. Zhang and G chase her. As Lucy and Del Rio meet Norman and his team at a university, she reveals the secrets of the universe that her enhanced brain has unlocked. But Zhang and his thugs storm the building and open fire. Lucy hands over the remaining CPH4 to the scientists, who turn it into a liquid that she injects into her veins. Her brain activity reaches 70% and her hands morph into a black substance that connects to the computers, absorbing more matter and power. She transcends the physical realm and erases the room, leaving only the scientists in a blank space. She conjures a futuristic device that astonishes them. Outside, the cops gun down Zhang's men, but he tells G to act. G fires a rocket launcher that blasts Lucy to Times Square. She bends time with a gesture and travels back, from the early 1900s to the colonial era, and even to the dawn of humanity, where she meets the ape from the beginning. They touch, and Lucy explores the entire space-time continuum, gaining infinite and omnipotent power. Zhang walks in and aims his gun at Lucy's head, but she hits 100%. Her body vanishes, leaving only her clothes. Zhang shoots at nothing. Del Rio arrives and kills Zhang. The black substance transforms into a flash drive that falls into Norman's hands, containing all of Lucy's knowledge. Del Rio wonders where Lucy is. His phone displays a message. "I am everywhere." The film ends with a shot of Zhang's dead body while Lucy's voice says this is the potential of life.